All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the March 4th, 2021 meeting of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the February 16th meeting. I'll move their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And the motion carries. The next item on our agenda is my report. So on today's agenda, the board will consider alleged violations for a candidate in the 2017 elections, and we will hear the response from that candidate. The board vote on potential violations represents the end of this campaign's progress through the CFB's thorough and rigorous audit process, which is required for all campaigns under city law. The board will also vote to ratify public funds payments that have been issued to candidates for city office since our last meeting on February 16th. The board has issued more than $39 million in public funds to 151 candidates running for city office in the 2021 elections. These public funds can help more New Yorkers run for city office and give city voters more choices at the polls. To be eligible for the 8-to-1 match, candidates must demonstrate that they have support from city residents by meeting a two-part fundraising threshold. To help voters visualize how the program incentivizes candidates to seek contributions from New Yorkers rather than special interests, the CFB has published an interactive map of contributions to 2021 candidates. The map shows how candidates in these races are reaching out to voters living in every neighborhood throughout the city. I recommend everyone listening to go and explore the map now by visiting maps.nyccfb.info. With that, I will turn to Amy Loprest for her report.
Thank you, Chair. Today we will also be, as the chair mentioned, we'll be asking the board to ratify some payments that were made after the February 16th payment. As I mentioned in my report last month, on February 16th, the January 15th filing was the largest in CFB history. There were more contribution transactions reported in the January 15th single disclosure statement than there were in the entire 2017 election cycle. Our audit staff and all of our staff went through all of those transactions and reviewed them in order to make the February 16th payment. Unfortunately, after that payment was made, we discovered some technical issues with our computer system. We undertook a thorough investigation of all of those issues and recommended, and the board approved, the chair approved several payments in the 2 weeks following that February 16th payment, and we will be asking the board, and I will be enumerating those payments later in this meeting and asking the board to ratify those payments. We are sorry for the delay that it caused some campaigns in receiving their their payments, and we are endeavoring to fix all of these glitches for the future.
Thank you, Amy. Is there anything further?
No.
All right, we have a number of candidate appearances this morning. And since as I came on, I heard there was some colloquy about what order they were in. Why don't I list the order of the appearances first before I ask for the first candidate or her representative to start in. So the order of the candidate appearances are as follows. Alika Ampry-Samuel, Charles Barron, Michael Beltzer, Bernadette Ferrara, and Jaslyn Cower. And so the first candidate up is Alika Ampry-Samuel. Is she or her representative here?
This is Alika Ampry-Samuel representing myself.
Good, thank you. And who from the CFB staff is handling this matter?
That would be me, Jason Yee, Associate Counsel.
Okay, and I'll just do this once at the beginning of all of these appearances. Our procedure is very simple. I'll ask the member of the CFB staff very briefly to sort of tee up what the issue is. I'll then ask the candidate to make whatever presentation she or he would like to make. There may be some response from the CFB staff. There may be a few questions from board members, and we will proceed through all of these 5 appearances. At the end of that, we will go into deliberations. We'll come back and we'll announce our decision. Ms. Ampry Samuel, your case is first, and I'll ask Jason to tee up the issue for us. Go ahead, Jason.
Good morning, Chair Schaefer, Executive Director Loprest, members of the board, and Ms. Ampry Samuel. My name is Jason Yee, Associate Counsel for the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the Alika Ampry Samuel 2017 campaign for City Council, District 41. Ms. Ampry Samuel was a participant in the program and received $107,666 in public funds. CFB staff recommends that the board find that the campaign committed violations of the Campaign Finance Act and rules as follows and assess penalties according to the penalty guidelines. Failing to demonstrate compliance with cash receipts reporting and documentation requirements. Failing to report transactions in daily pre-election disclosure statements. Failing to document transactions. Making impermissible post-election expenditures. CFB staff also recommends that the board find that the campaign must repay public funds. The campaign contests 1 penalty and the repayment recommendation. Thank you.
All right. Hold on, let me just get this back up on my screen. Thank you. Ms. Ampry Samuel, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Jason. And I do want to thank Jason for all of the work that we've been able to do together and all of the time that both have been able to put into this particular case. I hired a compliance company for my campaign, and I hired an amazing consulting firm to hire all campaign canvassing staff. And my consulting firm turned in all necessary and required documentation. And what's in dispute here are checks that were submitted to canvassers. And the problem here is not the checks themselves, but it's the actual check photos that had to be submitted to campaign finance. And it's the cash checks, the ones that actually show that the checks were cashed. And those particular documents, it was a struggle to get the necessary paperwork because a lot of our canvassers use check cashing facilities when they was able to actually receive their payment. And the corresponding documentation that was required, because we didn't have all of the canceled check photos to be submitted, was accompany the employment agreement. So for every canvasser that we hired, we did turn in a photocopy of the checks that they received for payment, as well as the accompanying employment agreement. But because there were so many canvassers, and because, again, they were not paid they did not go to their checks, and we could not receive the canceled check documentation, it was just a bit of a struggle. But we turned in everything that was required. And there's also, we still have close to $11,000 in the actual bank account. And it's just been sitting there because we wanted to make sure that we were doing our due diligence. We were doing everything that we could within our campaign. And so I just wanted to explain that to the board, that we hired a firm, they did everything that they were supposed to do, and there was just some glitches in the system itself. And I just wanted to put that on the record and just ask for support in this particular case. Okay. And the one last thing I wanted to mention is that the bank account that we still have that's still open, we're going to close it, but my mom did pass away in November, and I have to provide death certificates and everything else in order to be able to get the final check to submit back to campaign finance as well. And
the information we have, or the memo before us, seems to indicate that not all of the paperwork was submitted. Jason, would you like to address that issue?
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. This is so CFB staff had not previously heard about the issue of checks being made out to cash. Our understanding, based on the campaign's response and our correspondence up to now, has been that the consulting firm did not provide a number of timesheets and checks to the campaign. So of the documentation that we do have, many of the expenditures are, simply missing timesheets. They are missing the corresponding checks. Some of the checks aren't signed. We have timesheets with checks that don't have corresponding amounts, so the amounts on them are different. Some of the timesheets are missing rates of pay, and there are, even accounting for all the documentation that we do have, even if we add all of those numbers up and we were to say that the documentation is in fact enough for each amount of these worker payments, they don't add up to the expenditures that were made to Dunton.
Ms. Amber Samuel, are you saying that you have recently submitted further documentation? I'm not clear on what documentation you're referring to.
So I was referring to the last report, the last submission that we submitted from Dunton. And it was my understanding that Dunton, for every person that was hired on the campaign, there was a corresponding employment agreement. And for every person that was paid on the campaign, there was a corresponding check. And the discrepancy is the fact that if, just for example, if we hired someone and they worked for both the canvassing and election day operation, there was one employment agreement and there was a rate of pay. But what Campaign Finance Board was asking for was a detailed itemized showing exactly when that person worked, that was on one particular document that was submitted with the timesheets, but it did not necessarily correspond to the actual employment agreement. But the employment agreement, the timesheets did reflect the actual check payment that was made. So for every person that was hired on the campaign, there was a corresponding payment to that particular individual. And when he just mentioned the signature on the check, what we did not have was the back copy of the check, that like the actual canceled check itself. But we did have a documentation that that person was paid via check, but we were not able to run around and find the 20 so odd people that names were submitted, and we did not have any corresponding canceled checks. And so that was my understanding for what Dunton did not, was not able to provide as far as their documentation.
Okay, so it sounds like there's an agreement that some timesheets were not submitted. And with respect to the canceled check, I guess I'm a little bewildered as to why your bank wasn't able to provide you with copies of the canceled checks. They may have been cashed.
So it wasn't. So the canvassers did not. The bank that Dunton used, the consulting firm, the bank that they used, they did not receive copies of the canceled checks. It was a requirement for them to go to the check cash in place to ask them for the copies of the canceled checks. That was the instructions that were given. And Jason, I don't know if you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the discrepancy was the fact that they were not able to go to the check cash in places to get copies of the canceled checks.
It's if I can, it's just to, my understanding is that what happened is that you paid Dunton as a consultant, and that he paid the individual workers, and that's why your campaign bank account doesn't have that check. You have the check that you paid to him. Is that
absolutely, because okay. we paid the consulting firm.
I just wanted
to provide the service.
The chair's question.
Sorry about that. My apologies.
Okay.
But the consultant's own bank, the consultant wouldn't have to go to the check cashing company. The consultant should have bank records of its own with the canceled check. I mean, when I get my bank statements had canceled checks of the checks I wrote. So I assume the consultant must have had copies of these canceled checks. I don't understand why the consultant wasn't able to provide them to you.
It was my understanding that they bank did not have copies of all the canceled checks, and it was because some of the checks, a lot of the checks were cashed at cashing check cashing places, check cashing facilities, and not a bank. And so I'm not sure of their business practices, but that was my understanding.
So
That the issue was with the check cashing places.
So let me ask a question which I think is related. The memo says that expenditures totaling $17,831.31 were not qualified because the front and back was not provided. Is that what we're talking about? Is those checks?
Front and back, correct.
So do we have proof that the $17,831 came out of either your bank account or the consultant's bank account? In other words, that it was in fact paid? I mean, who paid the 17? Did you just say that that was paid by the consultant?
It was all the consulting firm. It was all Dunton.
So do we have information to show that the $17,831.31 was in fact deducted from the consultant's bank account?
So to my knowledge, everything, the consulting firm Dunton submitted all of their paperwork, submitted all of their receipts, submitted their statements and everything else. But because they were not able to satisfy the copies of everything because they did not have the bank stuff, it wasn't satisfied. But to my knowledge, they submitted everything to the Campaign Finance Board.
So, Mr. Yee, that's my question really to you then. Do we have documents which show that the $17,831.31 in fact came out of the bank accounts of the consultant?
We do not. So my understanding of your question, the two forms of documentation that we could have to show that would be the bank statements from the consulting firm, which we do not have, and the checks themselves, being having been signed and cash and processed through the whatever check cashing.
So there's a dispute because I just heard the candidate say, or that we do have those bank statements.
Dunton's bank statements.
Right. We don't have their bank statements. What about is another thing the memo talks about, 8,400 not qualified because there wasn't signed copy of the consultant agreement for two consultants. Is that accurate? Is there a dispute about that?
Is there even a name of the consultants?
I'll have to look. It's over 7,000.
So I just want we did everything we possibly could to have a top-notch campaign. In all honesty, we hired an amazing consulting firm. I have an amazing compliance officer that's been with the city with CFB for 20 years. And we did everything that we were supposed to do. This is unfortunate, but I'm actually ready to move on, even with the disputes.
Okay, no, I just thought that if we had the bank accounts from the consultants, then that, at least to my mind, could be evidence that the money was in fact paid, and we might provide a basis for qualifying it. But if we don't have those bank accounts, it becomes more difficult.
Right. Is there anything further that anyone would like to say, or any further questions from members of the board?
If I may, Chair Schaefer, it's not staff's standard practice to ask for bank statements from vendors or consultants. We ask for, that kind of documentation from the campaign to show the money going out from the campaign, and then the campaign in turn asks for various documentation of the checks, invoices, etc. for the vendors and consultants. So this is we generally do not ask for those kinds of bank statements.
Very good.
I appreciate that, Jason. Because it was a it's been a back and forth issue related to that between the campaign, the compliance officer, the consulting firm, because you hire firms under the impression that, you know, they do this job, and then we submit everything. And because that wasn't a requirement, now this is a particular issue that should be, you know, something that, you know, is put in policy or process as to, you know, like a lot of the requirements. Because if it's not something that's asked, but you have more campaigns hiring consulting firms, it's a lesson learned, but it's also something that we have to, you know, change with, as far as like just what are we requiring and what's requested. Because again, I've done everything that I could possibly do to not be in this particular situation.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that, and we understand that this is a complicated law, and that people often make errors that are completely unintentional, and the fact that there are findings and fines does not by any means demonstrate that anybody was not in good faith. And you know, thank you for reaffirmation of that. So I think we're done. We'll, as I said, we'll go into deliberations after all the appearances. And so the next candidate up is Charles Barron. And I think I see Mr. Barron's representative on the screen. And who from the CFB handle this matter?
I'll be doing this one, Chair Schaefer.
All right. So, Joe, why don't you tee up the issue, and then Councilmember Barron, you'll be up. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Thanks. Good morning, Chair Schaefer, Executive Director Loprest, members of the board, and Ms. Barron. My name is Joseph Gallagher, Senior Associate Counsel at the Campaign Finance Board. Before the board this morning is the matter of the February 16th public funds payment determination for the Charles Barron 2021 campaign for City Council District 42. The campaign has submitted a petition pursuant to Board Rule 709 challenging the determination. CFB staff recommends that the board deny the campaign's petition and instead review the campaign's eligibility in the normal course for the March 15th payment.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Barron, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the chair and to the members of the board. I appreciate this opportunity to appear before you and present our case. I am Inez Barron, and I'm the representative for the Charles Barron for City Council race for this 2021. We were listening live to the board on February the 16th, and going down, they got to 42 and did not call our campaign. And I was in shock because I knew that I had submitted all of the materials, and I expected that perhaps some of the claims would have been questioned and not been granted a matching fund payment. But to not hear our name called was shocking. I immediately reached out to find out what was the problem. I was told that that there was no record of our having submitted the Conflict of Interest Board report. I said, oh, yes, I did. And I said that I have the email notification which says your email has been sent, and submitted that as documentation that it had in fact been sent by the deadline date. The Conflict of Interest Board noted that they had not received it. So I went back into my files and noted that subsequent to my getting the message that it had been sent, that I received a message that it had bounced back because the file was too large. I got on the phone with the Conflict of Interest Board. They indicated the technical problem that had resulted in them not getting it, walked me through how to go to another platform and submit it. That's what I did. I then called Conflict of Interest Board to confirm that they had received it. They indicated they did. I sent that information to the Campaign Finance Board. they confirmed that, yes, they now had record of it having been received from the Conflict of Interest Board. I then wrote the letters with documentation as to screenshots of my having attempted to send the information and the problems that resulted in it not being received. It's interesting that at the opening of this meeting, there was an apology presented by the Campaign Finance Board about problems that you are having due to technical difficulties. And it's interesting that in all the years that I've been dealing with them, I have never seen the kinds of problems resulting from whatever the numbers or the platforms that I have seen now, where Campaign Finance Board, which is the authority and the standard in terms of distributing public matching funds, having problems. And I would say to you, just as I have been getting notices designed to inform me of deficiencies that are not, in fact, appropriate for our campaign, because those deficiencies have not been confirmed in these other cases, that this is a similar occurrence. We received notice that, Campaign Finance Board is apologizing, we had a problem, we'll let you know if you're involved. Got another notice yesterday, Campaign Finance is saying we don't have your submission for the voter guide. And now again, I'm panicking. Well, wait a minute, I sent it. Don't tell me here's another instance where they didn't get it. And then 2 hours later, I get notice, sorry, we do have it. There's been a lot of technical challenges here, a lot of technical challenges on the part of the candidates and on your part as well. And with that understanding, I'm appealing for the determination of funds, which was held based on the fact that you did not have the Conflict of Interest Board report. And that was the only factor cited for the payments not being issued on February the 16th. So since that has been resolved, and it was a technical glitch that bounced it back, that we be granted payment at this time, having satisfied what was the deficiency at that time, and not have to wait. We are really in a very competitive race, as are many other candidates, and we are being disadvantaged by not having the ability to have those matching public funds to be able to move our campaign forward. The amount was indicated as $113,000 based on the submission from disclosure number 6. And we have submitted the response to statement number 6 as well. I've been told that that will also be a part of the consideration moving forward. But what we're looking for at this point is a payment today, or a finding today, that we will be able to get this payment and not have to wait the next 2 weeks before we'll be able to get those funds that we're entitled to advance our campaign. Basically, that's it. I've sent documentation for all of the things that I have indicated in my presentation today. I just want to say also, we have the treasurer on the phone, but I've been the one working with the candidate to make sure that as these things are submitted, that they are in compliance.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barron. That was very helpful and informative. Mr. Gallagher, Joe, do you want to respond, or shall we see if there are any questions from the board first?
Sure. I would just say, Chair, that the board, this issue wasn't a result of a glitch on our end. The campaign sent their COIB disclosure to the COIB and received a message on the same day saying that the file was too large and it wasn't received. We receive information from the COIB concerning these disclosure statements, not from candidates themselves. So when we received the report from the COIB, this campaign was not in compliance. And that is the information we had at the time of the determination. And the board, the Rule 709, petitions are only if there is information that we had at the time of the determination. And this is new information after that determination was made.
Well, but this is, Mr. Gallagher, this is a little different than failure to, submit a bank statement or something, because this is more what I'll call, it's an important check the box, but it's a check the box. Was the campaign given any notice prior to the last payment date that there was, that the COIB issue existed so that they could have fixed it before the last payment, before February 16th?
Well, the deadline to submit the COIB disclosure form was January 21st, and that's the date that the campaign submitted it.
That's not my question. My question is, was the campaign given notice prior to the payment date?
No.
Yes, there were emails sent to campaigns. I confirmed that with our candidate guidance that the Barron campaign was included in a set of emails of people who were missing their conflict of interest board statement in advance of that payment.
I think Ms. Barron has something she wants to say about that. Go ahead.
Yes, and that's correct. I always want to make sure that we have all the information and that it's accurate. But by that same token, I received that under the understanding that this was a general notification. It did not specify our campaign. However, general notifications that did not apply to our campaign. And with that mindset and knowing that I had sent it, I said, oh, this is a general notification. It is not specific to the Charles Barron campaign. So I just want to put that on the record, such as the last notice that you sent out about problems that you had and that you're working on it. We received that as a general notification. It did not apply to our campaign.
Thank you. That's helpful. What was that, Richard?
I'm sorry, we didn't.
What was said?
A letter is sent informing campaigns they're not in compliance with the COIB.
We have a copy of what actually was sent so we could see it.
We can get that from our candidate services people.
And again, I received that as a general notification. There was a problem with the determinations that your campaign finance board sent out. It went to everybody. It shouldn't have come to me because it didn't apply to me, but I understood that and took that as, oh, okay, this is just general information. It doesn't have an impact on me. Our campaign is not involved. So it's general notification. And that's how I took that, because I knew that I had submitted that.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or statements at this time? All right, thank you very much. We'll take this.
When will your determination be announced?
Today. We're going to deliberations when we're done with all the candidates. It usually lasts, somewhere between a half hour and an hour. Then we come back and we announce our decision.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome, and thank you for your assistance.
Okay.
Okay, so the next candidate on our calendar is Michael Beltzer.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Beltzer, I'm glad you're with us. And who is the staff person who's handling this?
Oh, that's me. Good morning. Bethany Persky, Deputy General Counsel.
All right. So Ms. Persky, why don't you tee up the issue, and then we'll give the candidate an opportunity to speak.
Sure. Before the board is the matter of the Michael Beltzer campaign for City Council District 18 in the 2021 elections. The campaign has brought a petition pursuant to Rule 709 for reconsideration of the February 16th determination that the campaign was ineligible to receive public funds. CFB staff is recommending that the board deny the petition and evaluate the campaign's eligibility in the normal course for the March 15th payment.
All right, Mr. Beltzer, you're on.
All right, so I submitted the petition for 3 reasons. The first reason was the invalid matching claims, which I think the CFB has acknowledged that they had issues and discrepancies calculating, and I think I got a letter stating that I was above the thresholds. The other issues were the debit and credit variances. which petition for good cause. The CFB's C-Smart program, when you go to upload bank statements, is automatically set to only upload one page. So it is allegedly a very common error for bank statements to be missing pages because campaigns only uploaded one page. If this is such a common issue, I believe it's incumbent on the CFB to rectify this issue, especially if we're trying to make an environment that is as easy for campaigns to follow as possible. And if it is a requirement to have full bank statements in, it should not be defaulting to not uploading the whole file. That's a cause for user error, which I believe could be a good cause on our end. Absent good cause, a page was still submitted of each bank statement. So I contend that the campaign has submitted bank statements that could be used to calculate the variances by using the partial statements that were made. So I did those calculations and I got the credit variances down to 2.92% and the debit variances down to 31.21%, which is under the 40% necessary and under the 10% necessary on the credit end. So again, I think it's something that should be looked at going forward. If, obviously we want, the intent on the campaign was to submit bank statements. This is why you received a partial bank statement. I contend that the software itself is introducing this level of error because I would not want to just submit one page of a bank statement. That doesn't make any sense. So, that's why I'm petitioning the board today.
Thank you very much. Ms. Persky, would you like to respond?
Just to say that we're certainly not contesting that this was an inadvertent error, but it was user error. It was not a problem with the system. The vast majority of campaigns were able to upload complete bank statements through this system. And the reason that it defaults to a single page is that frequently campaigns are aligning documentation to an individual transaction, and so they want to choose just one page or a group of pages. And so that's why that is the default. Certainly, we're always open to feedback from campaigns about what's easier to use. And so we can, constantly be reconsidering what might work best. But in terms of whether this particular payment determination should be reversed, there's nothing to indicate that this was an error on our end. This was simply a user error.
Let me say something about the default. There is a reason, Mr. Beltzer, why it defaults that way, because it depends on the type of document you're submitting, whether this default is a good default or not a good default. It is certainly true that a number of people made this error. To say that it is common perhaps overstates it. I mean, the vast majority of people, were able to click on the right button to submit the full set of documents, and there have been a few, including yourself, who didn't notice that. But I'd like to come back to your second argument and ask Ms. Persky to respond to it. So Mr. Beltzer says, even with just the first page, you could at least do some calculation. And he says that he's done it and managed to reduce the variance just using the first page of each of the bank statements. Did you have a response to that particular point? Because I hadn't heard that argument before.
Yeah, so when just a portion of the bank statement is submitted and the auditors can't see the underlying transactions, that statement is not, those transactions listed on the partial statement are not included as part of the variance calculation, because the auditors need to be able to view the underlying transactions to compare it to the reporting. And so you can't make a one-to-one comparison between the reporting and the documentation without the full statement.
By the way, Mr. Beltzer, what was the amount of payment that you were hoping to receive?
I think it was like 56,000, something like that. So it helped me get like campaign manager, things like that. And I'll still contest. You have the one-to-one that is shown on the partial bank statements. So you're showing things that you absolutely were reported and could see. You're just choosing to say that you didn't get the whole thing, so you can't look at anything. And I just contend that, it was reported, and it could be it could be looked at. And also, if this type of issue, while maybe it's not common, is an issue that could be fixed expeditiously. I think it's something that going forward should be looked at how to best rectify, because especially no one's trying to give bank statements partially for the most part, I don't think.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say or any further questions from the board? Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next candidate, Bernadette Ferrara. Ms. Ferrara, I see you there. And
Yes.
Who from the CFB staff is involved in this matter?
Jason Yee.
Okay, there's Jason Yee. Thank you. So Jason, why don't you tee up the issue, and then we'll ask Ms. Ferrara to speak. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Schaefer, Executive Director Loprest, members of the board, and Ms. Ferrara. My name is Jason Yee, Associate Counsel for the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the February 5th public funds payment determination for the Bernadette Ferrara 2021C special election for City Council District 15. The campaign has submitted a petition pursuant to Board Rule 709 challenging the determination. Board staff recommends that the board deny the campaign's petition and instead review the campaign's eligibility in the normal course.
All right, Ms. Ferrara, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Schaefer, Jason, and everybody else from the Campaign Finance Board. What I will start with is one of the things that's most important and that I always pride myself with, even all the other community issues, is accountability. I'll just go through the facts of the things that are really very frustrating. The paperwork was submitted on November 27th. After November 27th, there was numerous emails from my treasurer, Dan Murphy, who is also here today, and also to the liaison. 60 full days went by where my campaign was behind the curve, 100%. No online fundraising was I allowed because of the email that said, until we get the approval from the Campaign Finance Board, then you are not allowed to make deposits more than $100. You're not allowed to have any online campaign and fundraising. Keep your fundraising to a minimal. So following the rules, okay, emails were sent from me, the candidate, okay, and also from my treasurer, Dan Murphy. Numerous emails to Kate McGuire saying, where are we with the status? What else do we have to do? We have stuff that needs to be deposited and we can't do it. So we're following the rules. So the next email that we got was on January 6th to my treasurer. So the three of us were really working together about how to make this go forward. And then there was a question about a small piece of information on my the form, which I was like, sure, give me. Is that the only thing hanging this up? You over 40 days of my campaign being behind the curve all the way. It's put my campaign in jeopardy 100%. And so here we go. Okay, if that's it, I got my information. I sent it to her 7 o'clock that evening. I got no response till January 10th. Then after that, between me, my treasurer, myself, it's like, okay, all right. So where do we stand now? We'll get back to you. I did not get an email to be able to do online fundraising until January 27th. My first contribution was January 29th. Before that, I had to be asking people and friends, etc., send me checks, etc. This is what I'm doing. Support me, just like everybody else does. And I had a bunch of checks. Okay. Now, I could not even deposit it because that was the weekend of the nor'easter. All right. We were in 2 feet of snow here in the Bronx. My car couldn't get out. I could not get to the bank to deposit anything. The banks were not open. So first time I had a chance to deposit was February 5th or February 3rd, whichever day is on the deposit. So then the question came up, well, you have some checks that are from December, you check from January. I couldn't deposit it. So I was like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I mean, I'm trying to follow the rules and I'm being accountable, but I don't see the accountability on the part of the Campaign Finance Board. The other questions that were brought up, basically, the affidavits were given to my treasurer. He uploaded everything. The other question were for the bank statements. Well, there was no transactions for December and January, but we got bank statements and they were also uploaded. So we're holding up our end. And now March 23rd is 2 weeks away. My campaign has been on hold and it's been no frills. And now we have a campaign that I've got a list of things that could be done like this. And my hands are tied. So it's a bit frustrating. And I would just consider all of the factors here. From November 27th till January 27th, 60 full days, my hands were tied. The campaign's hands were tied. And everybody's like, well, where's the money? We don't have any money to have a campaign. So I really would ask the Campaign Finance Board to please look at all the factors here. I don't know what was held up on your end. I don't know, but I'm just saying on our end, we were at the starting gate and we were being held back. And my whole campaign is behind the curve and it's put everything in jeopardy. So thank you for this opportunity.
All right, Jason, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Chair Schaefer. Just a few points. So first, I would like to say that it is not CFB's practice, CFB staff's practice, to tell the campaign not to start fundraising before certification is accepted. So we have no record of that guidance being given. Indeed, we have documentation that shows that the campaign started fundraising as early as 1 week after the certification was filed, which is approximately 7 weeks before or 6 weeks before the date that the certification was accepted. As you can see attached to the memo to the board, we have a check that was made out on December 2nd, 2020. That's Exhibit 4. These contributions were not counted towards the campaign threshold requirement for Disclosure Statement 1 because these contributions were not reported. So these are contributions that were accepted on December 2nd, or as early as December 2nd, excuse me. The certification was accepted on January 8th. 1 week later, on January 15th, we had Disclosure Statement 1's deadline, and the campaign at that time had reported 0 contributions. So all of these contributions then come in Disclosure Statement 2, and per the board rules, contributions that are not timely reported are not matchable.
But let me, Steve, before you keep going, I just want to make, what disclosure statement are we talking about in terms of payment? In other words, are we talking about payment based on Disclosure Statement 1 or payment? What does the petition relate to? Relate to this, in other words, what is the relevance of Disclosure Statement 2 to the petition before the board today?
Yes, one moment. So the payment for February 5th is based on Disclosure Statement 1. But let me confirm that.
We have this is Dan Murphy for the treasurer for the campaign. We're addressing disclosure report number 2 and the matching funds determination of that. We have 5 contributions that are dated January 12th that were deemed not timely, but were submitted on report number 2. We'd like the board to specifically address those 5 contributions, again, made after January 11th, after that first report, and they're deemed not timely, but we filed them with report number 2. And one of the reasons why we're asking for a consideration is, like the candidate said, the late acceptance of a campaign finance board number, activation, But that's the major focus of our concern.
You see, I'm looking at the appeal letter, which is, I guess, is the petition. Where does it reference, which is dated February 23rd? Where does it say that it's limited to disclosure statement number 1?
So it's not listed within the petition. The petition was responding to payment date number 1, which was February 5th. Now that payment date was based on disclosure statement 1, which is the, as I mentioned, the January 15th.
Where does it say that? Where does it say that it's responding? Maybe I'm missing it, but where does it say that that's what it's? I'm reading. It just says appealing decision to deny us matching funds. Where does it say that it's limited to disclosure statement number 1?
Well, Board Member Davis, so if you look at the petition, it's dated actually February 19th, correct? So the second
February 23rd.
February. No, so February. If you look at the second block, February 23rd is when I forwarded the email to myself to be able to print a clean copy.
But that's what that's what we have in front of us as the petition. Okay.
Right. Right below that.
That is attached to your memo. So how do I know that? So you're telling. That's the only date I have.
Regardless.
February 19th. So February. I see February 19th. I apologize. February 19th.
February 23rd and February 19th are both before the second payment date of February 25th, which is based on disclosure statement 2. So it simply could not have been possible at the time that this petition was filed that they were contesting the payment determination made on February 25th, which again is disclosure statement 2's payment date.
I go back to you, Mr. Burr. You just said you were challenging the disclosure statement 2. How could you be challenging disclosure statement 2 if your petition is before that date?
We are challenging based on the fact that we were not given approval by the Campaign Finance Board until January 27th. Is that correct, Bernadette?
Yes, it is. January 27th, I have the email, I have the activation email.
I understand that, but you file, we have to figure out what petition, what payment date you're challenging. And as Mr. Yee has properly pointed out, that your petition is dated February 19th. That's the only payment date you could be challenging is the first payment date. And the first payment date, in that disclosure statement, you had not submitted anything that would qualify. There was nothing I agree with you that there should have been an earlier certification, fine. But there was nothing in front of the Campaign Finance Board, as I read this, tell me why I'm wrong, on February 5th, which they could have done anything with because there were no submissions of any contributions. You submitted them in disclosure statement number 2, and with the payment date, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Yee, is February 25th. And that is, if there was a petition relating to that, arguably we could look at, I don't know what happened on February 25th, but that's not even in front of us today.
But then we have bank statements that show you the first deposit was February either 3rd or February 5th, and so on and so forth. There was a reason for that. We were not given the green light. What about the accountability of the 60 days, 60 full days that we did not get any answer? Where was our status? Why aren't we getting an email? Both from myself, the candidate, and also from the treasurer. 60 days. I mean, that's unacceptable.
But accepting that is a legitimate complaint, on February 5th, at the time of that payment, as I understand it, the board staff did not have in front of it a list of any filed contributions. So how could it have given you money on February 5th, accepting that that should have been, certification should have been earlier? On
Yes.
what basis could they have given you money on February 5th when you had not filed as of February 5th any contributions?
If we had gotten the okay and we had gotten the green light to do our online fundraising, which of course, because of that, was totally, you can't go back. There would have been deposits in December when the checks and when everything came in. There would have been deposits. There would have been a bank statement with deposits. There would have been bank statements in January when as soon as we got.
How much could you give if there's no record that the staff has of any contribution? What are they matching on February 5th?
I'm sorry. We would have gotten penalized if we had put in there and said, well, you were not approved, yet you're putting in money. You put in more than $100. We would have gotten penalized for making deposits when we weren't given the green light to do it.
On what basis are you saying you would have been penalized? You had checks as early as December 2nd.
Yes.
And I guess the question is, why didn't you deposit them? You're saying that the CFB rules say you shouldn't do it, but we don't have any record of any such rule or policy.
There was an email that was sent out, and that was sent from Kate McGuire. It was said that just to make the candidates know that until you get approved by the Campaign Finance Board to have minimal expenses and to not fundraise. And, so we followed that.
Do you have that email?
Yes, I'm almost positive it's one of the ones I gave the treasurer to submit, but I could send it to you that we abided by that. But if we had deposited money and then we had not gotten approval, meanwhile, we had emails that were saying, hey, where are we? Where are we with, what's our status? Did you receive my paperwork? I even asked if maybe my paperwork wasn't received and maybe that was being held up. Why is there 60 days that we didn't get something till January 6th? This is like all of December where I was continuing with fundraising and I was getting checks, etc. I had no idea that there would be any kind of conflict, etc., because of the dates of the checks. Everything was done as in accordance, made out to the campaign for RF 15, sent via mail because I couldn't, or to the PO box. All of that. I even have the envelopes that were sent. I have everything. And all we're working in compliance. We're waiting for the green light. And then we don't have a green light until we get something on January 6th. And then we get the okay on January 10th. And then an email gets sent to the campaign email on January 27th. Of course, that goes to how we proceeded and took everything that we had and put it in as soon as we could after the snowstorm on the 3rd or the 5th.
Yeah, but my question, though, is fairly straightforward. Accepting the legitimacy of every one of your complaints. At the time that the February 5th payment was being made, it was premised on the disclosure statement of January 15th. Is that correct, Mr. Yee?
That's correct. If I may.
And that disclosure statement didn't list contributions.
Yes.
Therefore, the CFB staff on February 5th wouldn't have any idea what qualified, what didn't qualify. Obviously, I don't know what happened on February 25th. That's not in front of us right now. But on February 5th, it just didn't have any information to make a judgment or to say, okay, here's how much money should go, because no contributions had been listed.
So, if I may, even accepting these contributions that are at issue, the campaign contests, the campaign is currently at 57 in-district contributions towards threshold. So even if we were to accept all these contributions at issue, they still don't reach the threshold number.
I have to say you're incorrect. You're incorrect
Well,
with that.
is based on the reporting and documentation that you provided us, Ms. Ferrara.
We've amended our report too, and we're responding to your concerns in a February 25th letter. So we have new documentation, affidavits,
Yes.
bank statements uploaded to
Well,
report.
and then those,
If
So
that
it's
is
more
the
than
if that is the case, then those are being reviewed by our auditors, and that is not the 709 petition is simply not an appropriate venue for new documentation information, as we stated in prior periods. Today, the 709 is meant to overturn a previously incorrect ruling based on the information and documentation at the time, which, as Board Member Davis points out, was nothing. We had no information or documentation at the time.
May I make a,
and it sounds like that even that is the case, that, you know, that what you just said, Mr. Yee, is related to the February 25th payment also.
Yeah.
So to the extent, you know, we construe this petition to cover that payment too, that at the time of the February 25th payment, they also had not met the threshold. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, that we would challenge.
yes.
That February 25th payment, we would challenge based on the fact that some of these contributions are being deemed not timely, and based on our affidavit work on the amended report. So we think we have 75 contributions, and in district, more than $5,000. We believe that we qualify for the matching funds.
When was the amendment filed?
This morning.
Okay.
Okay, so putting aside the amendment, before, obviously the amendment didn't exist as of February.
Can I ask?
So that on February 25th, as of that date, had you filed more than 75 contributions, putting aside the timeliness question?
Yes.
As of February 20th.
Yes.
Well, I mean, according to our records, there are, I mean, Mr. Murphy earlier said that there were 5 contributions that were timely. Our count listed at 7. And therefore, you know, if she was at 57 plus 7 is still not, assuming that all of those are in district, is still not sufficient to meet the threshold. They may, I'm not judging their current amendments or the additional documentation. Again, as Mr. Yee said, that's under review for the next payment.
Yes.
Again, this petition was in response to the February 5th payment date, which was based on the January 5th
I think
deadline.
we're beginning to repeat ourselves a little bit
Yes,
here.
we are.
Yes.
I'd like to give Ms. Ferrara the last word, and then I think we're going to bring this to an end. So Ms. Ferrara, if there's anything further you'd like to add.
Yes, I would. I understand there's just a lot to basically keep everything in compliance. But since I was actually doing besides myself and the treasurer, my own Excel sheet and focusing, there was more than 75 in district as opposed to the out of district to qualify. The ones that were in questions with the affidavits, they were all of them were in district, and I think there were 9 where affidavits were submitted along with the bank statements for December and January, which were requested. I guess the frustration just comes with the timeliness of the very small window. I would just request that this really be looked at, because we only have 2 weeks to actually make a viable, comparable campaign as to the other candidates. And this is very, very important. And we strived very hard to meet that threshold and to go beyond. I actually had 84 to 85. I think there were 2 that were contested. So if you bring it to 82, well beyond 75. And that was our account. That was my accountability. And I know, because I went to all of those people door to door. This is, please consider this and the timeliness. And if you basically see everything that was submitted, if there could be a swift acceptance of this. And if there is to be, that we don't wait yet another full week taking away from our campaign. If the decision is deemed, yes, that we are eligible for the funds after looking over everything, please make it as swiftly as this weekend and not in another week. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. We have one more candidate appearance before us, and that is Jaslyn Kaur, or Kaur, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And I think a representative of her campaign is with us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Yes, my name is Joshua Brambat, and I'm the campaign manager for Jaslyn Kaur for City Council District 23.
Okay, thank you very much. And who from the CFB staff is handling this matter?
That would be me again.
Also, Mr. Yee. All right, Jason, why don't you tee up the issue, and then I'll turn it over to the candidate's representative.
Good morning, all again. My name is Jason Yee, Associate Counsel for the CFB. For the board is the matter of the February 16th public funds payment determination for the Jaslyn Kaur 2021 election for City Council District 23. The campaign has submitted a petition pursuant to Board Rule 709, challenging the determination. Board staff recommends the board deny the campaign's petition and instead review the campaign's eligibility in the normal course.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say that her name is pronounced Jaslyn Kaur. Thank you.
Okay, I think we got it now.
Wonderful. I'll make my remarks as brief as possible because I know you've had a long day already, but I just wanted before that just to say thank you to each and every one of you for all the work you're doing for our city. It's really commendable and it's appreciated. Now, in the case of Jaslyn Kaur, she met all the threshold requirements, including the 5,000, well beyond that, as well as the in-district donors, and she fact right exceeded them. However, she was denied matching funds on February 16th, again, only due to the variances in the disbursements and receipts. We found out that surprisingly when uploading our bank statements, as a gentleman earlier today, that only the first page made it through, and that explains our variances completely, which we calculated in our response to the statement and the amendment, which we did just in case. So the only problem was not having those additional pages to see the additional disbursements and receipts. And we were devastated for two major reasons when we found out that Jaslyn couldn't get the matching funds on February 16th. First, and this is the reason that was kind of talked about earlier, in that on any other site, when you upload a document, it uploads in full. And it is kind of bizarre that on CSmart it doesn't. While I understand the reasons put forth earlier, it's still bizarre that a document as a bank statement wouldn't upload in full. And I've heard other campaigns have this problem, which signifies that this is something we should change on CSmart to prevent these humane problems in the future. But my second reason, and that's far more important, is that we submitted our disclosure early, very, very early. And we were told that our auditor would reach out if there was a big thing missing. And that's precisely why we submitted early. And we've reiterated numerous times that we would really appreciate if someone could just tell us if a document was missing so we could provide it right away, because this was our first time filing. We were not given any notice whatsoever that the second page of our bank statement was missing, which is just a basic courtesy. And the fact that it took us 1 month for someone to just even tell us that the second page of our bank statement was missing is pretty abysmal. And now we have to wait another month of matching funds. So essentially, this error that I believe is the error on CSmart will cost us 2 months with a primary that is less than 4 months away. And everyone on this call knows that this is a flawed, computer error that we need to fix to serve our democracy by approving the matching funds of candidates whose sole error was not having a full bank statement due to CSmart's inability to upload it in full. We can't sacrifice democracy. This is a brilliant, brilliant program that does not deserve unjust holdups. We're not here asking for empathy, but we're just asking for what is clearly right and explainable. We were supposed to receive $160,444. With only 4 months left, this puts our campaign in serious jeopardy. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your time. And I'm placing my full hope and belief in all of you to grant the matching funds that we deserve. And again, we met all the thresholds, signifying that the people of District 23 want Justine to get her matching funds. And the only problem was a missing page of the bank statement, which is due to the system's inability to upload a document in full. I really appreciate it, and I want to thank you, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions or concerns.
Thank you very much. I think we're fully briefed on this issue since it's not the first time that it has come up. And I thank you for your very eloquent presentation. Are there any further questions from the board?
I just have one question. When was the disclosure statement? You said it was filed early.
Mm-hmm.
How much before the deadline was it filed?
So the deadline was that Friday, I believe. And so we submitted it on Wednesday. So we submitted it, 2 days in advance, and we were constantly told that someone would reach out, like an auditor would reach out if there was a big component missing of your application, which is something that we put full trust in CFB to just tell us, because we were so nervous, and we communicated that please let us know if something is missing so we can rectify it immediately.
All right. Thank you very much. I think the board will now go into deliberations, and we'll be back to you in a little while.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Amy, are you there? I'm trying to get back in.
Sorry, I am here.
Okay,
Are you in?
because the
Okay.
camera was off for a minute, but okay.
Okay, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
now
I am here.
We're all starting to come back in.
Okay.
All right, so all right, so let's take these one at a time. So the first matter before us is are the proposed penalties and repayment of candidate Alika Ampry Samuel from 2017. Let me get this up on my screen. Okay, the board has deliberated on this matter and
Chair, can you just hold? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that all the board is there. Because I don't see them on my screen. Just to make sure.
Okay.
Board Member Davis, Board Member
I am here.
Sproggins.
Okay. She's not with us yet.
Yes.
Let's just give it another minute. Sure.
Okay. Oh, there. Okay. She's joined us. Okay. Sorry. You can begin again. Sorry, Chair.
All right. So with respect to candidate Alika Ampry Samuel, a candidate for City Council District 41 in 2017, the board proposes to find the following violations and impose the following penalties. One, failing to demonstrate compliance with cash receipts reporting and documentation requirements, $80. Two, failing to report transactions in daily pre-election disclosure statements, $300. Three, failing to document transactions, $150. Four, making impermissible post-election expenditures a violation, no penalty. The total penalties therefore are $530 and a public funds repayment obligation on behalf of the campaign of $32,142. The personal liability for the candidate and the treasurer are the amount in the bank account, which we don't have the exact amount before us. We have a number from January 2019, which is more than 2 years ago. The candidate indicated in our discussion that the bank account had somewhere in the neighborhood of $11,000+ in it, and we will just leave that as the bank account amount, and the staff of the CFB and the candidate they'll get the documentation from that and sort that out. So that is the motion before us that I make. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Next, we have several 7-09 petitions for the 2021 election cycle. I'll take them one at a time. The first is the petition of Charles Barron. I move that the petition be granted. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? The motion carries. That petition is granted. Next, petition of Michael Beltzer. I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
She said thank you.
I believe Ms. Barron just said thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. Next, the petition of Michael Beltzer. I move that the petition be denied. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? The motion carries. Third, the petition of Bernadette Ferrara. I move that the petition be denied. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And I just think the record should reflect this petition was based on the February 5th payment date.
Correct. This was a petition with respect to the first payment, and that is all that's being denied. All those in favor? Aye. I don't hear any other ayes. Ayes?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Finally, for today's appearances, the petition of Jocelyn Kaur. I move that the petition be denied. All those in favor? Aye. The second, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, the motion carries. Next, we have some prior 709 petitions that were determined by the chair, and the issue before us is to whether the board wishes to ratify those decisions that I previously made. Deliberations indicate that the board is in agreement with those determinations, and so I'm going to do these all in one motion. The motion, which I'll let somebody else make, but the motion is to ratify the 709 petition determinations of the chair for Brad Hoylman, Badrun Khan, Austin Chaffron, and David Weprin. Does someone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Can I just make a clarification for the record, is that 3 of those are ratifying denials of the petition, and the petition from Budrar Khan was granted. So just to clarify for the record.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That is correct. The chair I had previously denied the 3 petitions, but granted that of Badrun Khan. And the motion that I'm asking someone now to make is to reaffirm all of those determination, which includes 1 granting of a petition. So would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, that motion carries. Finally, on the agenda for today, we have some payments to ratify. I'll ask Executive Director Amy Loprest to tee up those issues.
Okay, so we are asking the board to ratify payments that the chair approved in 3 different election cycles. So first, the staff is asking the board to ratify public fund payments for the 2021 election cycle that the board chair has approved since the meeting on February 16th. As I explained at the beginning of the meeting, the CFB determined that information was omitted from the reviews for the payments approved at that meeting. Specifically for the February 24th payments, CFB staff discovered that an update to an internal database application resulted in undercount of valid matchable contributions for some candidates. That application update has been removed from our system and will not affect other future audit reviews. CFB staff has completed a careful and thorough secondary review of all the disclosure statement filings. The actual payments were made on several dates as follows. On February 16th, Jenny Lowe, Council District 1, $160,396. On February 19th, 3 candidates, Chi Osei in District 36, $160,400. Edwin Raymond, District 40, $160,444. Donovan Richards, for Queensborough President, $355,087. On February 24th, 26 candidates. Scott Stringer, candidate for mayor, $12,654. Brian Benjamin for controller, $6,916. Brad Lander, also for controller, $270,081. 2 candidates for Brooklyn Borough President, Robert Corneghi, $16,720, and Carrie Edwards, $23,180. Two candidates for Manhattan Borough President, Elizabeth Caputo, $5,130, Benjamin Kalos, $5,662. Oh, I'm sorry, three candidates for Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine, $4,180. A candidate for Staten Island Borough President, Stephen Matteo, $190. Two candidates for Bronx Borough Presidents, Fernando Cabrera, $20,830, and Vanessa Gibson, $2,204. For City Council, Gigi Lee in District 1, $160,277. Rebecca Lamorte, District 5, $532. Christopher Sosa in District 5, $3,040. Luis Tejeda in District 7, $5,882. Diana Ayala in District 8, $1,710. Brent O'Leary in District 26, $6,711. Michael Scala in District 32, $2,470. Victoria Cambranas in District 33, $2,850. Stuart Sherman in District 33, $4,218. Benjamin Solitaire, also in District 33, $6,764. R. Dimple Willibus in District 46, $3,838. Selena Gray in District 49, $3,116. Ronte Ogunlea in District 49, $1,292. Sam Pizzarello in District 50, $13,794. And George Wanaka in District 51, $380. On March 1st, after the grant of his 709 petition, Budra Khan in District 26 was paid $48,078. Those bring the total payments for the 2021 election to $39,199,762.
All right, let's take them these one as a group. Is there a motion to ratify those payments?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next one, Amy.
The staff is recommending that the board ratify the following payments for the 2021B special election for City Council District 31. These payments were made on February 19th. Sean Rux, $55,425. Latoya Benjamin, $9,214. Sylvina Brooks Powers, $7,125. Pesach Osina, $8,976, and Manuel Silva, $7,668. Those payments brought the total public funds payments for the special election in City Council District 31 to $566,893.
Is there a motion to ratify?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Finally, the staff is recommending that the board ratify the payments for the special election 2020-21C in City Council's districts 11 and 15. These payments were made on February 25th. Mino Laura, $15,542. Daniel Paternak, $4,066. Elisa Crespo, $24. Lakshmi Gopal, $2,888. That brings the total of payments in the special election and City Council's districts 11 and 15 to $1,135,919.
Is there a motion to ratify?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And that concludes the work for today. I will make a motion to go into executive session, and then since we have no items of business to vote on, to adjourn from executive session. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the motion carries. Thank you very much. The business of today's meeting of this Campaign Finance Board is completed. Thank you.
Thank you.